channel, Cynthia here from NB Pretty Papers, back with another layout for the Crafty Maven Getaway channel. I am up today with a multi-photo layout. So I've taken these 6 3x4 photos and I'm just going to lay them around the page to see how I can make them work. So the photos are of our son. He's jumping on a trampoline. He has one of those harnesses on where you get to do the flips and tumbles in the air. So I just want to try to show that movement and that sequence of the photos. Pulled out a big stack of stamps because this month on the channel the focus is on stamping. So I've pulled out the ones in my stash that are arrows or somehow picture movement. That's what I'm trying to do, show direction and movement on the page. So I'll grab out these 4 colours of Distress Oxide ink. I think the orange is Spice Marmalade, this yellow is Fossilized Amber. I think I come in with a light blue, which is Broken China, and the green is, is the green Cracked Pistachio? Oh, look, there it is on the lid. You could probably read that. I can't think what it is. Is that? And I can't read it while I'm doing this. It's too small. I'm going to go with Cracked Pistachio, but it could be something different. Anyway, so that's the 4 Distress Oxide that I'm going to use, and I'm just coming back in a couple of times and adding more, and I just build that up, and I don't show you do all that. But I do also come in with some black. I want to have a pop of black through in the background as well. So you'll see in a minute all the stamping will be done, and there's some black on there as well. There we go. Looks quite ghastly at the moment, but I'm well aware that I will be covering most of that black up, and it will just be little bits poking out from the back of the photos and the embellishments that I have on the page. Pulled out this paper pad. It's from Die Cuts with a View, and I just go through. I really love this, the colours in this paper. As you can see, there's gold foiling and the colours are bright and summery and fun, and I'm wanting to back the photos up with something. Initially pulled out this cut paper here, which is the one that one there, and I cut that down. I just cut it in half, and I'm going to use that to back the photo. I like the colours in. I think the colours go well with the stamping, hence why I use those colours in the stamping. But in the end I swapped that out. I used something slightly different. Not 100% it's feeling right for me. So I think it's just the pattern more than anything. It was, I don't know, it just didn't like the pattern. It wasn't feeling quite right for me, whether it was the blobby shapes that didn't have the feel that I was looking for. So I go back through and see what else I can use, and I pull out this one, and I really like the look of this one more. It's not quite so, I think it's a little bit more subtle in the background. Loving the colour still. It's got the orange and the soft pinks and the blues, which match the stamping, but it's not quite as bold and as graphic as what the other image was. Deliberately tried to cut it where there was some of that blue showing in the background, and you don't see much of it. I thought I'd leave it quite big, and then once I laid it down I realised I covered up a little bit too much of the stamping, so I've just trimmed it down a little bit more again, and now I'm going to come through and just see how or what other pieces I can add there as well. Decided that I will put that strip down on the left hand side. Once again, I just like the pattern that's in that paper. It sort of makes it feel like there's direction and movement happening. I did struggle a little bit with this layout. I got to here and I just couldn't really go any further. I sort of did a lot of finger tapping and sort of lots of shifting it this way and doing this, and just wasn't feeling right for me. So I let it sit overnight, and I think I come back the next day. And I don't know whether you're the same, but quite often if I'm working on a layout and I was just not getting the right feel from the layout, and I'm starting to struggle, I'll just leave it sitting on my desk. I'll walk away. I'll come back the next day. And when I sit down, it seems I have fresh inspiration. I think at times I can get a little bit frustrated, and that blocks my inspiration. So I come back the next day and it all seems to come together for me. It probably helps also that my scrapbooking area is out in our live-in kitchen space. So when I leave it sitting on my desk, I actually see the layout every time I walk past. And so it sort of gives me that opportunity to actually look at the layout and not be quite so emotionally attached to it as I am when I'm actually creating it. I guess I see things better, if that makes sense. I get a bit better perspective on what's happening on the page. So this is where I'm really starting to struggle. Look, I knew I wanted to put some banners across. I forgot that I pulled out a banner label in the beginning. And I was trying to make it work, and here we are. I'm back the next day now, and I just knew that I wanted the stamping to be horizontal across the page, not vertical. I felt like when I had it vertical, I had too much white space on one side of the page, and I know that seems a bit strange because even though I've turned it horizontal, I've still got exactly the same amount of white space. It's just down the bottom. Just seems to be working better for me. And now I'm trying to get the banners to look right across the page. I'm really disappointed that I forgot to use that banner stamp, but anyway, there you go. I go into my stash again and I pull out this cut apart sheet. It's from the Chamel Starshine collection, I think it is. And I trim out this tag, and then there's also another tag on the sheet, this little one here. I trim that out, and then just below that you can see that cut apart that has something about go on it. I go back in a minute because I feel like I'm still haven't got quite enough to stretch across the page the way I was visualizing it to be. So I go back in, I trim out this cut apart that says let's go, and I turn that into a banner as well. And then I have enough with these cut aparts and a couple of little banners that I already had to be able to spread them across the page the way I was visualizing it would go. So just laying them down there, deciding whereabouts I want them. I sit them there naturally, and then I think, oh, maybe I'll just move them up a little bit, but in the end I come back to that spot, and I do say it's probably because it's on that intersection line. If you divide the page up into the thirds, the old rule. And it's not something I deliberately do, and it's probably not something a lot of people deliberately think about, but you'll find you naturally tend to put items, embellishments, photos, whatever it may be, on those lines of the intersection lines, which help make up the rule of third, if that makes sense. It may or may not. I have this flare here that's been in my stash forever and a day. I think it's one of Coco Vanilla Studios' first line she put out. I think that was Flying High, and that's how long that's been in my stash. I did have 2 flares, but I only used one, and I did thread both of these tags, but you'll see in a minute I cut away when I didn't like the 2. I've pulled one out and I only have one. Don't do a lot from here. I come back in a moment and grab this branding strip. So this branding strip had some arrows. It was also on that Chamel paper, and I really like the way that it has the arrows and the movement, which is what's happening in the background of my page. And it also has that, so it's grey arrows which help play with those black stamping that I have put in the background. And as you can see, you don't really see much of that stamping now, that black stamping. There's just a few little pops and hints of it poking out here and there, so I quite like that. And I end up just spreading these around the page, and I just like the way that adds that little bit more movement to the page. What else do I do? That's around about it in regards to embellishments. I come back in and I add my journaling to that pink tag in the middle. I just talk about how, as a kid we all loved jumping on the trampoline and getting that feeling. Then I go into my stash and pull out these thickers here. It was nice to use these. These are chipboard thickers, so I will need to add glue to the back of them when I finally decide on where I want them to go. Initially thought I'd just have jumping for joy, and then in the end initially thought I'd have jumping joy, and then I mixed it up at the end and went with hashtag jumping for joy. And I actually have it spread right across the bottom of the page as one big long word, as hashtags are. And I think that's around about it. I do try a couple of different areas where I would like them. I put them all up there. I didn't like that. That just blended in too much. There looked okay, but I felt like it was sort of making it a little bit too boxy. So in the end, I bring it all the way down the bottom. And I put it down there, and I like that. That's the end of the layout basically. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Crafty Maven Getaway channel. Hop on over to my channel and have a look what's happening over there. Thank you very much, and until next time, everyone have a lovely day, a lovely week, or a lovely month, and I will talk to you on the next video. Until then, bye.